Hey, how you doing? I've seen this image on the internet several times, a couple different YouTube channels. I'm sure you have too. But nobody's ever really offered any explanation of what we're looking at here. They just show the image and they move on, and that's about the end of it. So I'd like to try to offer a little bit of analysis here, maybe, of what it is that we're looking at. Start off with this runway here. This runway is 7,000 feet long, plenty long enough to land a C-130 on, a mile and a half. Second thing I noticed is this red in the image, and to me what looked like a tornado damaged building. It looked like it had its roof blown off. And then I saw a lot of snowmobile tracks. I was like, well, that's interesting. Wonder what that's all about. So I started looking at it a little bit closer. This runway was built to be used rather often. I mean, there's end of runway lights there, and runway lights every 300 feet approximately. So they intended to use this thing rather frequently, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whatever the weather conditions were. So I started looking at this a little bit closer and thinking, maybe those are not just snowmobile tracks, maybe there's something else, because they are certainly all over everywhere. So I started trying to figure out what exactly is going on. Now, start here at the top, I guess. Whatever this is about 300 feet. I think it's a turbine, I should say. And I think this is a turbine right here also. I think this is either some microbial fluid that the government sprayed everywhere or put everywhere to protect the workers from alien microbes or viruses, possibly, or it's a hydraulic fluid. And then, of course, being that it's blood red, had the could it be blood idea going on. And I thought, nah, just way too much of it for that. But I thought these ribs were very interesting, if that's in fact what they are. Roof structure, so to speak, right? The ribs of a roof. So I got to looking at, why are they driving all over the top of it and just running around the way they are? And I looked at it a little bit closer and I thought, oh, wait a second here. This looks more like a construction site than anything else. I mean, I've been on a lot of construction sites, and you see trucks backing up, turning around, coming back down. So I started looking at it that way. It's not a construction site, it's an excavation site. They're excavating materials out of here. Now this right here at the end of the horseshoe, the racetrack looking thing here, is this square opening, it appears, or oblong opening. It's 100 feet across, about 50 some feet wide. Looks like another possible tunnel entrance right here. Could be just lighting, I don't know. This doesn't look like it was excavated yet. It's still too far underneath the ice, apparently. And you can see other items that are still under the ice jetting off here. 90-degree turns up here, so this is a building, I would have to assume, of some kind. Now when you look at that oblong area from the other direction, kind of takes on a little bit different appearance. Now instead of a microbial fluid being laid down to protect workers or whatever, I'm thinking there's something else going on here. Now there's not too many things that are in my knowledge base anyway that are this bright red. First comes to mind is blood, and then possibly transmission fluid or hydraulic fluid. Now the shape of this right here gives credence to the blood aspect, because this looks like a rib that's been cut off. Rather sizable, if it is a rib, I must admit. But I've also seen things that are like several times the size of the Earth itself pull up next to the sun and take plasma off the surface of it. So there may be some really large things out there or here that we just don't have a clue about. But anyway, this is a way different color than the rest of it, yes. And this here, I don't know if this is just light refraction, but I don't think so. I think this is the color of whatever this building or object is made out of, is this kind of greenish blue here. And this here looks like to me when the truck pulls around here and this end loader comes in and dumps the load on here, some of this liquid is spilling out of the truck before it drives off. That's the way I see it. And again, this object over here looked like a tunnel entrance. From this angle, looks like you could walk under this. Now it looks like there's a bridge going across here, so 6 or 1/2 dozen, right? Anyway, when I first saw this, I thought, well, that looks like tornado damage. You know, the roof of a building being blown off, and this being the building, and this being the roof, and the ribs of the roof. And then I got to thinking, well, why in the world would they be out here driving all over it? And I looked at it a little bit more, and again, here is the dump trucks coming up here, getting loaded by an end loader that is scraping off whatever this rib material is made out of. Now, I don't think these are holes here. They're just divisions between these ribs here, and this is all, frozen over, of course, but I think this green on the surface here is coming from whatever this is made out of. As they're scraping it off, they're getting fibrous material or metamaterial, I would suppose that it would have to be if it's alien, right? And it's blowing all across the snow as they're removing it and putting it in these trucks and then driving off and putting it on the airplane. Now these little guys here, they seem to be everywhere, and they look pretty small compared to the rest of this. This is about 3,000 feet across here for perspective. This, of course, is about the size of a football field right here. Now swing around to the other side of this thing here and look at this so-called little thing. Now, a lot of these are probably snowmobile tracks, but these larger ones up here are dump trucks, and these are, end loaders or whatever it is they're using to remove these rib materials with. But this thing right here, this is 40 feet tall. That's a rather sizable object. You can see it's got like a conical top to it, but that's as tall as a 4-story building. I mean, goodness sakes, you're driving by that's or standing there, that's a good size object, and there are lots of them around here. Probably was one here and one here and on and on and on, and that looks like to me they removed them. Now, fast forward 3 years to 2016 from 2013. Again, here's that 100-foot opening. There's the hump, I'll call it, that they were driving over the top of. And here's the ribs that they removed, which, by the way, get incrementally larger. I measured them. They're like 100 feet across here, up to 400 feet down here. Now, having a little artistic inclination, I'm looking at this as something other than a building now. Now I'm starting to see something that resembles a life form. If you can imagine, a long neck and fins like on a dinosaur, or dare we say a dragon. These here are about 300 feet across, and none of these were exposed back in 2013. That 2013 image, just this right here up to the top, this is where that was cantilevered off this hump right here, and all the removal was going on, and over here was the little racetrack. But this wasn't showing back then. Now again, there's that hump up towards the front, and you can see all the ribs are removed, and whatever these are now are exposed. Now notice the red right here. Again, I can't help but see organic form here. I mean, it doesn't fit the rest of the structure at all, but if you can imagine a long neck going down to a body, laying farther down onto the ground or under the ice, and these are fins sticking up off of the neck area, would make for an interesting animal, would it not? Now there's the oblong area, and you can see there's a slope up. The wind direction is from the left to the right here, primarily, it looks like in this area. But this is still open, whatever this is. They should put some orange tape or something around there so somebody doesn't fall in there. But anyway, here's another image. This is where the ribs used to be. Here you can see they're all removed completely. So they must have a use for that material, whatever that's made out of. Now, if it is a life form, you know they're going to use that DNA for who knows what, right? If not, then it's a metamaterial that they're interested in utilizing in some kind of way. You see that red every now and then on these here? Check it out a little bit closer. Aye, right? That looks like a vein, or the marrow of a bone that's just been cut off. Now from this angle, here again is that vein, we'll call it, right? And this looks like a rib. I don't know if you've ever had spare ribs before. They kind of thin out on the one end and get thicker on the other. Purely speculation, but still, there has got to be a reason. Now, this is either a vein or a large pipe of some kind that's got hydraulic fluid or transmission fluid in it, or some kind of life juice, so to speak. But that's just really interesting there, I think. Like I said, this is about 400 foot across on these ribs, and this is about 100 foot across up here. So clearly they're getting wider as they go down this way. And man, this is really straight. It's like my son pointed out. Well, those are too straight. Well, yeah, that's true. As far as animal form would go, but nonetheless, what in the world? Because this is like from here down to here, it's like 7,000 feet, as long as that runway. And this probably is not all of it, whatever it is. It just, I don't know, kind of interesting, I think. This here, I want to do one on this one here because I watched Unidentified the other night, and they said they had reason to believe that it's a crashed alien vessel of some kind, and I beg to differ. And I'll do another video on that one and show you why I don't think it's something like that at all. I think this is a diversion from what that thing actually is, what they're saying it is. Because there's a stark contrast between that image right there, aside from the colors, and that image right there. There's one primary difference between those two photographs. But anyway, sorry I rambled on so long. Thanks for listening if you actually did. Let me know what you think. This might possibly be. I'm sure you probably got a better explanation than I do. Anyway, take care. Thanks for watching.